Hello, everyone. Beautiful souls. I don't know, my time was off in the kitchen, so I was like rushing and I was trying to tag Natalie in here. And it kept shutting me down, which was so weird. I'm going to try and tag her now. Oh, it looks like, oh, I don't know if she's in here right now. Welcome to another parenting through consciousness conversation with Natalie Clark, my dear friend and soul sister. Today we're going to be talking about staying centered at this time of year. Whatever it is you celebrate, there's several holidays that happen during this time of year, and there's a lot of stress that comes with this time of year. And so we're just going to talk about how are we staying centered, how are we staying grounded, what are the challenges that come up at this time of year for you. Hello, Natalie. Here we are. Approve and invite. Hello.
Hey, good morning.
Hey,
Or
hey.
afternoon.
I was like panicked trying to get on. I kept trying to tag you and then it would kick me out of the whole live and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I like attempted it 3 times and like, anyway.
Yeah, Facebook is glitchy.
Super
I've had
glitchy.
some issues with mine for a different reason, but they're constantly adding new things and updating. So,
I
um,
know.
I mean, no kidding that it's glitching out right there. It's such a huge platform.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I was just introducing what our topic was today. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for just doing these conversations. I love doing these conversations. And I'll give you a chance
Yeah,
to introduce yourself. Yeah.
yeah. Hey guys, my name is Natalie, and I have been on this awakening spiritual journey for, I guess, tangibly, probably for 4 or 5 years now. Um, Although really looking back now, just with the awareness I have now, I look back in my life, I'm like, oh, that was the universe starting to poke me, right?
Oh, that was just the
um,
beginning.
yeah. And I'm also a mom, and I'm a coach. So I help women on with their own spiritual awakening. And I also work with my more mainstream businesses, working with homeschool moms. Yeah, really helping their kids kind of get that love of learning and writing back into their lives. But yeah, and I love having these conversations with Angie. Um, yeah, being a conscious being is quite the journey. And then again,
Mhm.
we're adding all these roles that we chose, or maybe we didn't choose. But hey, either way, we're here. We're moms, and sometimes it can get pretty rough, right?
Yeah.
And we also have that awareness, which is great, but then it just adds
Which makes
another
it,
layer of complicated crap.
I know, the undoing of everything. It's like we're at the same time we're undoing our own learning and trying to teach
Yeah.
our children, right? Like, oh man, what
Uh,
a hot mess sometimes. What a hot mess.
yeah. Seriously. Yeah. Country of the hot mess.
Sure is. But it's so
Um,
great to be able to have these conversations and laugh about it and realize like we're all in this together. We're not
yeah.
alone. I just came off of a call in my membership and we were talking about that too, like how important it is to not feel alone in this mess.
Yeah. Because it can seem very isolating, right? Especially
Yeah,
if you're the only one in your
in your
family, in
household.
your close friends. Because again, there's a lot of amazing spiritual teachers who have been telling us from day one. It all happens with what, like, we all kind of wake up one by one. It's not
Yeah.
like, oh, you stepped into this awareness, now it's like contagious and everybody's gonna wake up.
Yeah,
I mean,
nope.
unfortunately, it's not like that.
No, unfortunately what it
Otherwise
does.
this would have been super easy, right? We would have been sipping cocktails in Havana or
Good,
something by now, right?
yeah, for sure. Good morning, Rosalie. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, good morning, Rosalie.
Yeah, so nice to have you here. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so the opposite, right? You think like, oh great, I come into this awareness, everyone will, and what it does is it triggers the F out of everyone around you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And then you're like, oops, or you're like, oh, this is really interesting. Like this,
Like, what's going
and
on
then you're
here?
just
Yeah.
like over analyzing everything, and then and then the next thing you know, you're just kind of staring blankly in the kitchen, and everybody already left the room. But you're like, how much time has gone by?
Okay, what's going on? What happened?
Yeah. Oh my god,
This
that's
whole
hilarious.
production played out in my head. I don't understand. Oh my gosh. I had an
Um,
experience, actually, speaking of that, okay, I had this funny experience. It wasn't funny, like, so last week, right, when we talked, I was at Megan's house, and all day I was in these conversations, right, all day. And you know what happens is, like, we vibe high when we're having these
mm,
very open conversations. And I was that way all day. And so then I come home and then I was doing it here, and it was good. Like Kyle and I were having this conversation about souls, and then I started talking about mirrors, and then he made one comment, and it shut it down. And it was like a punch to my gut. Like
oh,
I actually literally, like, tears came out instantly. And he was like, "Oh my God!" Like, I didn't mean to do anything. And it's just, I think we're so, like, why I wanted to bring that up is because we're so used to operating playing small, making ourselves smaller, not saying the things that are uncomfortable to the people around us, right? But because I was in this openness for 8 hours with Megan, and then I came home and and the openness exists in our house too, it does. But I realized in that moment how I'm not able to fully express this in my own home.
mm,
And it was a beautiful experience. I mean, I say, like, it did literally feel like a punch to the gut, and it wasn't a mean comment. It was just like, oh, okay, you're getting out of hand now, Angie, basically, like, I was just making a comment about this, and now you're going over here.
yeah.
And it was like, I literally felt like a punch to the gut because I'd been so open for 8 hours, and then just like poof, shut. And that's what the world does to us, right? That's what it feels like when you're being more conscious. You're very more aware of what happens in your
Hmm.
body. And so that's what
Oh,
happened. And then I felt it really fast, but I also moved through it really fast, which was pretty fascinating to me. And then him and I
yeah.
talked about it a little later.
Hmm. Yeah, you bring up those are great points that you bring up. Having been like kind of that punch in the gut um, sensation, and often that's because your ego is triggered, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens when we start becoming more and more aware, and when we really start tapping into ourselves, our ego doesn't like that. Our ego's used to being in the driver's seat, right?
Yeah.
So the ego is going to start fighting harder and harder to get back in control. So sometimes maybe you're having a great conversation and then boom, something freaks you out or something makes you panic or makes you sick to your stomach. That's because the ego found like a little crack, a little opening, and it's like, oh,
Mm.
I'm going to take this opportunity and like really raise some shit here because I need to be at the wheel.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. And then, but on the flip side, you also said that you moved through it much
It
easier and
was an
much smoother.
experience for me to see how in the moment I was. I was very in the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
exactly.
very
And
present.
mhm, which is key, right?
Yeah.
Again, having that, let's go into the present moment, be our default,
Yeah.
as opposed to well, what everybody else does, right?
Yeah, because what
Um,
it would have looked like before is I would have just shut down quietly and went away, you know what I mean? And like maybe ignored my feelings probably for a little while
yeah,
until I was alone, and maybe I wouldn't even ever process the feelings actually. It's very
yeah,
possible too.
yeah. And I mean, those moments are completely normal, and I mean, they're
Yes.
completely healthy, guys. This is just part of the journey.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Abraham, I don't know if anybody listens to Abraham Hicks, but she says something, or rather, they say something
They,
that that always helps me when I'm kind of like feeling really shitty, or I feel like I'm falling back on like bad habits or old trauma or whatever. They say it's okay to be on step one. Like it's okay to be back like kind of in square one. I think they call it step one.
mhm.
Which I won't go into. They have like a billion steps. But anyways, it's okay to be on step one.
Mhm.
It's okay. And like when I'm in it, when I'm feeling heavy, I will say to myself, it's okay to be in step one. Like
That's a great
it's
thing. Yeah, I like
okay. It's
that.
okay to be at a lower frequency. It's
It is.
okay because we go up
It
and
is
down,
okay.
right? But the
Yes.
higher frequency, like your home frequency, so to speak, when it gets to a certain level, you still go up and down, but you
Hmm.
don't stay down as long, just like you experienced, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, Julie and I were talking about that in a video recently. But you're absolutely right. Like being present in that moment, that was exactly it. I was making it okay. Like I wasn't making it not okay to
Mm,
have this emotion, and it happened like that. Like I just broke out crying. Like I literally was like shocked. I think I was like the punch to the gut. I felt it, and then
yeah.
tears just instantly came out, and I didn't move to run away. I didn't like anything. And my husband was like so like, oh my gosh, like I was just making a comment, and I know you get really passionate, so I was just trying to stop you, like because I know you'll just keep going, right? And it wasn't, and he wasn't trying to be mean at all, right? But I was just feeling the punch to the gut. I was just feeling the dead stop of everything, right? And then all the emotion of how many times I've been shut down that way. I like
Mm,
all that emotion was coming in that moment that I've been shut down that way without ever realizing it, but now I'm aware. And
yeah.
so I was feeling it, and I told him, I told him, I just said, just let me have it. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm like, it literally just felt like a punch to the gut. And
Yeah.
I like I haven't had that experience to be so in the moment with such intense emotion
Mm,
to even be
yeah.
able to express it to him. My daughter was there, and I was just like, I expressed it, and then I said, I just need a moment, and I walked away and I went in the office. And then I came in here and I cried, I let it out, I cried. And then he came in and he just said, I wasn't trying, I don't ever want you to feel like you can't be yourself, right? And I was like, that's all I needed to hear, honestly, because then it was
Yeah.
fine. I was fine. And then we talked about it, and I said, yeah, I realized like I've been shut down and I've never known what it looked like or what it felt like until this moment.
Mm, wow.
Allowing the flow. Yeah, Rosalie, that's right. Just
Yeah.
allowing that's being with emotion. That is allowing emotion to be and not making it wrong and not make it's okay that I'm at step one, right? Like it's okay that I've
Yeah.
been kicked
Yeah.
back. I was high, I got kicked back. It's okay.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for sharing that with us. And again, another great point that's coming in right now. Just like again, you take that step back. Well, it's okay. It's okay to take that even a few steps back, right? And this is
Yeah.
where a lot of people feel as humans that we're failing because me myself as a person, I was doing so great. Maybe you've had like 3 or 4 months that you're just rocking at whatever you're doing, and all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden something happens. You're like 5 steps back, and you're like, "WTF? I'm behaving like I would have been behaving like 3 years ago. Like what's going on?"
Yeah.
And then you feel stuck, and it's like you're in quicksand or whatever. That's okay, because to
So
realign
okay.
yourself to realign yourself with your path, because we're constantly realigning with our path, guys, like no matter, based on decisions or actions that we take.
Always.
Sometimes you do have to take 4 steps back to to get back on that proper path. And same thing with just with the global community too, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I mean, I know we don't touch that kind of crap on this, and I don't want to, but just again, a greater perspective of it is normal to take a few steps back to realign ourselves because that's evolution,
That is
right?
the path. Yes, that is the path of evolution. That's it. Like,
You gotta take steps back, and we're so programmed to think, oh, like I'm not constantly moving up and up and up and up and up the stairs or the ladder.
it's not meant to
Something's
be.
wrong with me. I'm screwing up. Like this isn't working. It is
Yeah.
working. This is the process that nobody talks about because this isn't the
It's
fun
not
stuff. This isn't
linear.
like
It's not
the
linear.
$10 million pouring into your bank account. This is the raw human stuff because for one reason or another, we didn't pick giraffes this lifetime, guys. We
That's
picked
exactly
humans.
it. We picked this, exactly. We picked this path of evolution. And why did we come here to do it? We came here to do it because of that going off path. Like, it is in that path of going off the path that we learn to love,
Yeah,
that we expand our love, that we expand,
yeah,
our mastery.
yeah. That's where the expansion happens is in those steps
Yes.
back. Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
think I posted something a while ago, and it was something like, the greater the challenge, the greater the expansion.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. It's so true.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because you're right, it is the human condition, though. We beat ourselves up throughout the whole time. I think about when I was
Mhm.
at the beginning of my mental health journey and I went through treatment for my PTSD and I learned so much and I gained like and it was the same thing like you were saying earlier like I was on this trajectory up 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 it was going so great and then when I fell back down I remember we had booster groups so every once a month we would come back together to revisit our skills that we learned and every time we would come back everybody was suffering the same thing like you fall back and you feel like you're back at square one but the truth is like then we would dissect it with our skills and oh no you're not back you're not actually back you
Mhm.
take these steps and each step back is a step forward still.
Yeah. Yeah. And some teachers explain it like the cycle, right? Like life's a cycle. You are going to circle back
Slim.
to the same lessons. They're going to look different because you're going to be at
Yep.
a higher frequency. You're going to have different experiences. You're going to have a different
Yep.
awareness. But it's
Yep.
going to still going to be that same theme, whether that's relationship or work
Yep.
or health, whatever that is. You're still going to be cycling through it throughout this whole life. But
Yep.
just your perspective on it is going to be different, and the lessons are going to be different as well, right?
Yeah. And the lessons too, even if you learn a lesson in one area of life, right? You bring up these different areas and maybe you learn the lesson in one area of your life and you master it. That doesn't mean that you've mastered the same lesson in your relationship or that you've
Mm,
mastered that same relationship or same lesson in your personal life. Maybe you did it in your career, or maybe you did it, whatever. Like it also
yeah.
is that way because the ego is very tricky in that. But I've already done this work,
Mm,
and I had that experience where it was like we were taught my mentor had told us to write down what is it that I was working on my relationship at the time and it was like what is it that you're mad at your partner about, right? And then it was like what are the things that you think they should do, write those down, right? Everything you think they should do. Now you're going to read it to yourself as if you have to do it. And then what she warned us was she literally said when you do this the first thing that's going to happen is your ego is going to step right in and say nope, I don't need to do that, I've already done it, right? And that's exactly what happened to me. It was like, I think he needs to get support. I think he needs to start caring about himself more. I think he needs to do this, or that. But I had been through all this mental health recovery journey, right? So the ego was like, no, I've already done this. I did it for myself. I had never done it in my relationship. So she said, notice that the ego will do this. Say it to yourself. And she's like, give space for it. Just allow it. What's the ego saying? Okay, read it again to yourself. And then I read it again and it was like a light bulb went on. I was like, holy shit, yeah, I've done that, but I haven't done it in my relationship,
yeah.
which is why I'm here working on my relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's that too, like even the ego is very funny. Like if you've learned the lessons, sure, but maybe it won't let you see that you still have more to learn in this area of your life.
Yeah. Because life or the universe or whatever you guys want to call it is constantly showing us things that we either need to learn or um, or more like opportunities for growth, right? Opportunities
Hmm.
for expansion. Which is a good segue into this week's topic
Yeah.
of, the holidays are coming up, or the holidays have already started. I mean, American Thanksgiving was a couple of days ago. We're starting to see more family now. Even the family members that were like, "Oh, I love you because you're in my family," but like, can you not talk to me,
Yeah, you
right?
feel the energy of
Um,
that.
yeah. So that's just what I wanted to talk about
Yeah.
today is, because no matter how woke you are, there's always going to be the bitchy mother-in-law or the super annoying brother or whatever, or the cousin or whatever it is, right? The aunt that always pesters you about whatever it is, co-sleeping with your kids or, not warming up a bottle. There's always these people that like pick
With
at everything that you
comments.
do. So
Yeah.
be more, how can we practice presence and being centered when sometimes it feels like we're bombarded by all this
Hmm.
stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Rosalie says relationships are the best learning curve, right? Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And these
Mm,
relationships, like these family relationships, whether chosen or not, like these family relationships are your core mirrors, right? They're your core mirrors, core
mm,
reflections. So there's really great opportunities in it. And maybe it's just going into it, finding gratitude before you even go into it. We were talking about this on my call just before. Like, before you're going to see that person, going into it as grateful, understanding that that person is a reflection for you, an opportunity for you, and
mm.
softening the energy before you even go into that family situation, whatever it is. So that's one of the ways that I've been doing it more recently.
Yeah. Oh, we have
And it's
Rhonda
just, I
watching.
find it changes. Rhonda watching? Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hmm. Okay, so going into trying to tap into that gratitude before you go in. Um,
Yeah, acknowledging to yourself that, okay, I understand this is an opportunity, but also acknowledging it's tough. Like, this is a tough one.
yeah, because again, your ego is going to be like, but they're wrong, and they're always bitchy, or they're always like
And
da
they're
da
going to be
da.
like this, so we create it. We go in like,
Yes,
I know exactly how they're going to behave. They're going to drop comments at me about me and my child and the way like that I'm homeschooling, that they're going to drop
yeah,
comments and I'm going to be mad. Like, we're creating that.
yeah. We are literally, yes. Thank you, Angie. We are literally
Literally
creating it
creating.
in our heads before we
Yes.
even go into that situation.
Yeah. So what's
So,
going to
I mean,
happen
it's
when you go?
twofold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're actually manifesting it, which is kind of more of a high level conversation, but
Yeah.
you're also just bringing that energy, that resentment.
That's the energy
You
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 bring
you're
in.
essentially like putting like a giant cloak, like the Harry Potter invisibility cloak, but it's like the Natalie Clark resentment cloak. I'm walking
Oh
in
my
there and
gosh,
I'm
the
ready for a fight,
resentment cloak.
or I'm glaring, or I feel closed off, right? I'm just like, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm ignoring this person. I'm avoiding the kitchen because they're there. Like you can
Yeah.
feel it. Everybody can feel it, no matter
Everywhere
if
you
they
go,
know
they're
what it
feeling
is
it.
or not, right?
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter, even if they don't know what it is, humans can feel it. Humans can feel that energy.
They can.
So
And that's why
yeah.
the approach of diffusing the energy before you go in, like
Mm,
resolving the energy with yourself, right? That approach has
yeah.
worked for me. It's shifted. I've had really surprising experiences over the last 2 years with my in-laws, um, in what I would have thought they would have behaved by taking that approach of just going in. Because if you're aware and you're becoming conscious, is it possible that somebody else in your family is getting a little more conscious too? And maybe coming to the family thing worried about you because there's always this bad energy between you. You know what I mean? Like me and like let's say this
Whoa.
family member. Like could it be possible that they also feel that, like you're saying, they feel the energy, right? And maybe they feel that way about you. Like they're not looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
So could it be possible that you shift the energy that gives them the opportunity to shift as well, right?
Wow. I love
What if
that
they're thinking the
perspective.
same freaking thing coming in?
Right? Yeah. Huh. Oh shit.
No shit. It's funny.
And
My friend gave me one of those oh shit moments just before this call. She said something, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I've not thought of it that way.
yeah, that is great though, because first of all, we should never assume, right? We should never assume
Mm.
what people are going through, especially the last 2 years. I mean, it has been a global trauma because the universe is like, all right,
Yes.
little human beings, like we're doing this
Yeah,
now,
this
whether
is
you
it's
like it or not.
time.
So people have changed, whether for the good or for the
Yeah.
bad.
They've
They've changed,
changed.
right? So to help them, well, to help us be our more authentic selves,
And it
and
helps
just
them.
to help them as well, because you don't know where they're at. Like Angie brought up an excellent point. Like maybe they're starting to wake up, right? Too. Who knows? Just when we're present, when we're centered just in ourselves, that just automatically gives space for
Yes.
people to be themselves, to
Yes.
show up however they want to show up. So
Yeah.
just to be just being present, automatically you open that giant outer space inside of you.
Yeah.
It just gives that space to others. And whatever they choose to do with that space, it's none of your business. But just the fact that you are just allowing that
You're
peaceful
just
space in
allowing
that
them the
environment
space.
is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. You're the
They said you're the
sky.
sky.
Oh, that was
Yes.
today's quote. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some tools? So I want to share some tools with everybody here. So what are some tools that we can share here, Angie? Because sometimes I find, when we're like, okay, let's be centered, let's be present. Well, how do you actually do that, right? Um,
Yeah. My number
do you
one
want to?
tool. Yeah, I'd love to share. I mean, my number one tool is called Tonglen meditation. And it's normally, when we pray for someone or we're sending light to someone, we send it out, right? So Tonglen teaches us to take in first and then give out. Because take in means we take in the suffering that we're having in this moment. So let's say I'm at a family thing, right? And somebody makes a sarcastic comment. And I'm taking it personally, right? In that moment that I'm aware of it, I will just it's a practice that follows the breath. So I will just breathe in and I will breathe in my suffering in that moment. Like I am triggered. I feel personally attacked by this person's words, and I'm just breathing that in. And when I'm breathing that in, I'm also aware that there are billions of people around the world that have this exact feeling that I'm having right now, that I'm hurt by somebody's words, right? And I breathe out love and compassion for them because I know what it feels like and I don't like it. And so I breathe out love and compassion for them. And I'll just keep doing that for a few moments. And it's so subtle, like it's just me breathing. I'm just sitting there breathing. And I'm breathing in just like, oh, this sucks. This is uncomfortable. Like, even if I don't know the words of what I'm feeling, I'll just say, oh, this is really uncomfortable. And I'm breathing it in. And then I'm breathing out love and compassion for my humanity. And then I'm breathing in again. And I'm breathing in like, oh man, this sucks. This is really uncomfortable. And I wish for all beings to be free of it. Because if all beings are free of it, I'm free of it. This is how we connect. This is a Buddhist, it's a Buddhist meditation, but it's a way to connect suffering with everyone. It's understanding that at the core, every human is suffering. Because the mind creates separation between us. Like, no, I'm not the same as you. I'm not the same as you. But the truth is, like I said, this other family member might feel this way about you coming into you know what I mean? The mind doesn't want to
Yeah.
think about that, but they might feel like, oh, I have to see Angie again, and she's always like so standoffish with me, and so like it's like she doesn't like me. You know what I mean? And so they're having the same discomfort, and that's how I connect to them. So that's my approach. Like that's how I diffuse the energy before I go. Is I breathe in like, oh, I'm already getting anxious that I'm heading over there, and I breathe in that anxiety, and then I breathe out love, just love and compassion for that anxiety, for that worry. And then I breathe in again and I imagine that person, like my family member, and think like, wow, they're probably feeling the same way. They're probably feeling anxious. And everybody that's coming into this family gathering probably feels anxious. And I'm going to breathe
Yeah.
that in. And I'm going to wish for all of us to be free from that. And then I'm going to breathe out love and compassion. So it's a practice
Yeah.
that follows the breath. But instead of just breathing out love and light doesn't acknowledge the suffering. So
Right.
Tonglen is a practice of breathing in the suffering first, leaning into the suffering, into your heart, and then sending out. love and compassion.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
transmutes energy very, very
Wow.
effectively.
Yeah. I love that because I have a similar practice when it comes to, old trauma or heavy emotions that come up. And if you don't touch it, you can't heal it, right? So
Yes.
I really like that, breathing it in and then
Yeah.
breathing it out, and then doing that for every person that's feeling
Yeah.
that as well,
Yeah, you
because
can
we
do
are all
exactly
connected.
every breath. You can take every single person that's going to be at this thing and breathe it in and breathe it out.
Yeah. Wow. And it's nobody knows that you're going to do it, right? You don't have to go into like a weird yoga pose or anything. You're just sitting there, right?
You're not like, I'm sending you love.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Hold on, I need my meditation pillow. Right?
No, exactly. It's just
Yeah.
breathing. So you can like everybody could be engaging in conversation and you could just be sitting there. I've done this at the dinner table. Everyone's just sitting there and I'm just breathing in like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable, but it dissolves. It starts to dissolve.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and yeah. So my tool that I want to share is, again, it's not obvious, just like yours, like you're just sitting there. Um, but to get present, maybe even the sarcastic remark hasn't come up. Maybe you're just kind of all sitting around the living room, you're starting to feel a little anxious, or maybe you're not even feeling anxious at all. But often it's easier to be centered and to be present in our own home. But when we're in different situations and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of energy, we kind of get sucked back into ego. We kind of
Scattered
get
and
sucked back into, yeah, we feel scattered and stuff. So a great way to be present is just to go in the body. And so what that means is, like, 99% of the time, most people are all
are up
in
here.
their head, right? You're all up here. This is where you
Absolutely.
live. So a really simple practice is just to, I'm going to take the hand, for example. Just feel your hand, but feel it from the inside. And you can
Mm.
close your eyes or put your hand just out of view, right? Like, again, you're sitting around the living room or whatever. Just put your hand down a little so it's out of your view, out of your, you can't see it, but
Hmm.
try and feel your hand.
I'm
And
doing
like,
it
you're gonna
right
feel
now.
like it's very subtle. Some people feel like a little tingling, or maybe a warmness, or like pins and needles. Sometimes even like a little itch, right? For some reason, some people may even feel like kind of an itch. Um, but that's okay. Like, and it's all located in your hand. So this is bringing presence into the body. And when you do this, you are present. When you do this, the ego is not running amok. It really grounds you. So in those situations when we can't just go barefoot outside, um, or whatever
Right.
normally our grounding techniques are, just do this. You can do this in the car.
Yeah.
You can do this anywhere.
Yeah.
And you can, I mean, I just use the hand as an example, but you can use anything, right? You can use um, your your feet, or whatever, right?
It was actually
Your
just
legs,
very grounding
anything.
right now. Like right now, I did
Yeah,
it as you said it. And even though I am present in this conversation, that doing that literally made me feel more present. Like I could
yeah,
hear you more without my thoughts weren't in there, you know?
yeah, yeah.
That
It's a
was
really great
interesting.
practice that Eckhart Tolle teaches. Is just being in the body is a great
Yeah.
gateway um, to, again, that stillness that we truly are, right? That our higher self. Um, yeah, it's really great to shut that brain.
One of the things it reminds me of, one of the things we used to teach in our mindfulness workshop with Myfrey Hamilton was like with this technique of 5 breaths, like it's the 5 finger technique, 5 breaths. So when you breathe in, you're going up your thumb, and you could do this like discreetly in your lap, like you're just
Mm,
tracing and going up and breathing in, and then holding it at the top, and then breathing
mm,
out. And the sensation, though, the more senses that you involve, the more you can come out of your mind. So you have the sensation of you could be seeing it, right? And then
mm.
breathing and then feeling it, and then you're feeling the sensation of going along your hand. By the end of the 5 breaths, you'll feel so much more grounded. So I used to do
Yeah.
this on the bus. That was my technique on the bus, so that because I would get anxious being on the bus. And so to
Mm-hmm.
settle myself, I would just sit with my hand in my lap doing that,
Yeah.
and it would calm me down.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are great techniques.
Yeah. It is all about being present. And when you're present, you're more aware. You're
Yeah.
less susceptible to being triggered.
Mm-hmm. And you're
Like,
also more open to letting go of the personalities that you kind of scotch tape on people.
yeah,
Because again, we see everything through our own veil. But the more aware you are,
yeah.
and the veil's responsible for our beliefs, for how we perceive others, their
It's our
personalities.
filter.
Yeah, but when you're present, you're also giving opportunity for those personalities to dissolve. And I'm not talking about the personalities of Bob, your brother. I'm talking about the personality that you're projecting onto him. Like, oh, he's such a
Yeah,
redneck, or I
yeah,
don't know. But when you're present, everything kind of falls away, right? Everything
yeah.
dissolves a little bit. So then you are also given the opportunity to see Bob the brother as just Bob, as whoever
Just,
he is in that moment, not a redneck, not the guy who gave you wedgies when you were 5 years old,
yes, you're not
just
seeing through
the
the old
person.
story. Yes.
Yeah,
Because
which can
people
really,
change. People change. I find like this is something I think it's a dynamic that occurs very much in family. We hold people to those what you say is scotch tape personalities onto them. We hold them to that personality, and it's like I am not the same person I was then. Why can't they
yeah,
not be the same person they were then?
yeah,
And we won't see that unless we take an action to allow space for them to be present. Like, unless we're present and allow their presence.
yeah,
We can't see them
yeah.
another way.
Oh, and the more we give space to, let's again say, our relationship with Bob the brother, the more space we give to that relationship just by being present, just by those exercises that Angie and I just shared, it gives space for something new,
Yeah.
right? You're giving space for something new to come to it. Maybe a better relationship, maybe a new understanding, maybe even ground. But it gives space for something new to be brought forth. Because if
Yeah.
we're stuck on our old stories, if we're stuck on he's such an a-hole, da, da, da. I have three older brothers, so but this is just these old stories that we've been walking around ever since we've been born. Maybe stories that we made up about them, just that the stupid sibling fights, the things that we hear from our parents,
Yeah.
the experiences
Right.
that we have as we um, grow older, maybe, and often in adulthood, a lot of people move away, like but we still hold on to all these old stories, but we don't have to, and it's actually detrimental to
Don't have to.
our
Yeah.
growth, and it's also detrimental to their growth too, right?
We're
So again,
holding
just
on
by
to
being,
the stories of us too, how we
yeah,
might have been
yeah,
labeled in the family.
yeah,
And so we
yeah,
begin we begin behaving the way we're expected to because they've projected onto us too.
yes, that's an excellent point you bring up. That again, maybe when we're home or when we're at work, whenever we're in an environment that we're comfortable in, that we're
We
usually
don't
in,
behave this way.
then we're more zen, right? Then
Yes.
we're more present. Then we're more like, I'm running a high frequency. When we're put back in those situations where you're going to your parents-in-law or something,
We revert.
or your parent or your aunt or whatever, those family gatherings that have started already, we revert back, right?
Yeah. We fall into this old role that we filled in this family.
Yeah,
This
and you just
old
feel
role.
shitty, right? You're just
And then
like,
we
you get
blame it
out of
on
there and you
them.
just feel so drained. Yeah, and you blame it on them.
And then we
Yes.
blame it on them. It's them. They bring this out of me. They bring this horrible part of me that I don't like.
Yeah, they triggered me. And it's like,
Yes.
okay, perhaps their actions did. trigger you.
But the opportunity
Yeah, the
is
opportunity is
to,
always in your court, guys.
yeah,
So
always,
something that I've
always.
been doing recently is, let's say again, someone triggers me. Again, that's gonna happen at least once during the day. I stop and I'm like, oh, and I feel it right in my body, and then I'm like, oh, when this happens, my body reacts this way. So it's not me that's getting angry. Like I am not getting
Yes,
angry, but my body is feeling like I want to throw up, or I want to run away, or I just want to shut down. My body's having this reaction, and then my
yes.
ego's feeding into that reaction. But just by being aware of that, guys, it shuts it down. Even if it
It
shuts it down for
does.
one
It
second,
does.
that is
It's
huge.
progress. And once the awareness happens, right? The awareness happens in that little gap, that moment, there's this awareness that happens, and that's enough. Like the mind will tell you that you need to do all these things now that you're aware of it. But you don't need to do anything, actually. The awareness comes and you accept the awareness, the energy
Mm,
continues to transmute. You know, it's like you
yeah,
can't undo the awareness. You can't undo it. You can't go back.
no.
Opportunity is in your core. Love that. Yeah, it is. Like you
Yeah,
have the
we're always
opportunity in
looking
that moment.
for yeah, we're always looking for things to do, right? What can I do now? What can I do now? But you brought up an
Oh,
excellent
I'm
point.
aware of
It's
this. I need to do something.
just being aware. That is the doing.
What is it?
That
That's
that
the
is
work.
because we are so stuck in this physical
Yes.
world.
We're so
But it's
programmed.
not just all physical. It's not all. Well, I like to say either use the word physical or visible, right? It's
Mm,
not all in our physical or visible world. It's half half, guys. So the doing
yes.
is all physical. It's all visible, right? But we've
Yes.
been doing for a millennia. Can we just like
To
okay,
get
yeah,
to
the
this
doing,
awareness.
yeah, but so the doing, the physical
Mm,
stuff is important, right? Taking actions, getting
yeah.
yourself out of dangerous situation, whatever it is, that is important. But we can't forget the other side, like the non-visible stuff,
Yes.
which is that awareness. And the more you are aware, it's like you're putting money in like the invisible energy bank, right?
Yeah.
And one day, sometimes it feels like the floodgates rush in, and you get like a huge breakthrough, and you're like, whoa. Well, that huge breakthrough of whoa, that is an accumulation of all the milliseconds of awareness
That's
you have
all.
had.
Exactly. We've already been doing the work. Like that's the thing. Like we don't realize like it took you've been doing the work. That's what brought you here. That's what brought you to this
Uh,
moment. There's nothing more to do. This is the breakthrough. This is the breakthrough. And then you
holy
allow
crap,
that
that was
energy.
crazy.
Then
Thank
you
you.
allow that energy.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You allow that energy to marinate, to sizzle, to come to form, right? Like that's what comes to
Um,
form. It takes time. It always happens energetically first.
hmm.
And then it comes into that visible, then it comes into that physical. So you need to allow it that time. But every time we try to control it and we try to do, we're actually stunting it. We're actually blocking it.
Yeah. Kind of like, well, that seed analogy, right? Where you plant a seed, you're trying to grow a cucumber plant or a tomato plant. If you're digging it up every, you know, two
Stop
weeks,
growing.
that thing's not
You're
going to
not
grow,
you're not
right?
going to get a very good tomato.
So you got to, yeah, not necessarily that we have to start again,
No.
um, but it's just
We
gonna
learn.
like, yeah, you can't measure energy. You can't measure the non-physical with the physical stuff,
Yeah, no.
and
No, you
that's
can't.
something that we've just, I mean, we've all just been living again, like in this physical. We've just been so focused on the physicality of everything for centuries and like
Hmm.
thousands of years actually. Um, but now there's this growing awareness happening on our planet, in the universe, and we have to learn to get back to the non-physical stuff because that is literally it. I mean, we live in a world of yin and yang of balance.
Yeah,
So it is 50% physical and 50% non-physical, and that
yeah,
non-physical, that's the energy, that's the emotions, that's the thoughts, that's our being, right?
yeah,
And that's really where all the rewards are.
yeah.
Because especially we're such on an imbalance right now. The more people that are aware, it's just balancing out those scales more.
And I think it's really important too, like more people are aware right now. This is a different holiday we're moving into. It's even more different than last year. Like we're now moving, there's been
Mm.
so much more division created out there, and it is
Yeah.
seeped into our family, and we don't even know yet how it's seeped possibly. Like if you're
Mm.
someone that only sees your family during holidays, this might be the first time that you're coming into this dynamic and experiencing how this division might have
Mm.
infiltrated within your family unit, you know, within your family
Yeah.
dynamic. And you might and depending on these labels or these filters that we have of these people, it's going to look, it might be a little shocking and jolting for some people.
Yeah.
Could be.
And I feel like I need to share something. So my mentor always says, whatever you resist persists.
Yes.
So I think especially coming into these family gatherings, there's always talks about, politics or religion or whatever else. I mean, you could talk about a freaking apple tree and get into a fight with some people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but those conversations, those things, those sarcastic remarks that people that you may hear during the holidays, guys, remember that's not just the person being a bitch. That's also the universe being like, hey, this is something that you've been resisting for a really long time. So I'm just bringing it forth to
Here's
you,
an
and sometimes like
opportunity.
right in your face. Like it happened to me the other day. I was running errands, and all these posters and signs and whatever everywhere. And I'm just like, and then I'm like, whoa, this is the universe saying, this is like my higher self saying, hey, Nat, what you've been resisting.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
I went
like,
through this last
and I'm
night.
like, oh, and then you know what I did? I'm like, thank you.
Mm.
Maybe I said it out loud. Who knows? People, I talk to myself in the grocery lines all the time. But I'm like, whoa, thank you. Like, because this is what, like, everything that
It's
you
happening
see,
for us. It is happening
yeah,
for
everything that you
us.
see or everything that you hear, and that you're like, oh, like, through this, like, I don't want part of this conversation, or I don't want to hear this. This is literally life. This is your higher self, guys, saying, okay,
Yeah,
this is what you have been resisting. This is what you've been turning away from. But
yeah.
if you keep turning away from it, you're not
It's
going to
gonna get
grow anymore.
louder.
You're going to be stuck, right? Even though
Yeah,
you're never stuck, but it's just again that point of view of, again, like I said earlier, like the bigger the challenge, the bigger the breakthrough. So when you're
yeah.
having, when someone's starting a conversation, you're like, oh, for F's sakes, like FML, right? Instead, be like, oh, this is the universe, or this is my higher self, or this
This
is
is
God,
my
or this is whoever,
invitation. This
talking
is
through
my
this person to
invitation.
be like, hey, Angie, this is something that you've been resisting for a really long time. Can you
Yeah.
just be present and realize it?
So
You
now
don't
it's getting
have
a little
to,
louder. You don't have to do anything. Just be
you don't have
aware
to
of
do
it in
anything.
this moment.
Yeah, just be aware of, oh, I usually resist this stuff. Let's
Yeah.
be present. Let's do that hand exercise that
Let's
Matt was
just,
talking about, or that
yeah,
breathing exercise that
yeah,
Angie was saying. That's all
yeah.
you need to do. That's all the
Need to do.
doing. There's nothing complicated about this. And
Yes.
it's when we overcomplicate it that we get lost, right? That we feel that we're stuck, that nothing's working. But
Yeah.
really, the more present you can be in the fun times, when you're going to the water
It'll
park or wherever with your
pass.
kids, when
Yes.
you're having a super awkward family dinner, when you're stuck in traffic, the more time you can be present through all the fun stuff and the crappy stuff. That's the work. Like
Yeah.
that's
That
literally
is
all
the
we
work.
have to do,
That
really. I
is
mean,
the
there's all
work.
these amazing
Oh, I love
programs
this
and
conversation.
modalities and everything, but it's all different words saying the same thing. Just be present.
Absolutely.
Just
It
be
is
right
about
now,
being
because right
present.
now is the only thing
Right
that
now is the
exists.
only thing. Right now is the only thing. And so whatever is showing up in your present moment is exactly happening for you. It is happening for you.
Yeah.
And even if the mind likes to get involved, because it's like even though even this is the thing in this work in self-development in spiritual growth, right? It's like the mind still wants to say like, oh, okay, this is happening for me, and then it's trying to figure out what's going on in this moment. You're not in the moment. You're not present.
No,
The
because you're
mind's like,
thinking.
what the fuck is the universe trying to tell me with this person? And it's like, it doesn't even matter. All that matters is how you feel about it in that moment. And just feel
Yeah.
it. Just feel it and be with it. Oh, I love this conversation.
I know. Yeah. Oh. Mm.
This is it. Yeah, this is it. Like, I love even the correlation of what we're talking about is literally my conversation I was just having. Like, I was literally just having about overcoming resistance. It's one of the trainings that we
Yeah.
were doing, but it's about overcoming resistance. And what we were talking about is gratitude. Like having gratitude for that awareness. When we have that moment of
Yeah.
awareness, we can shift the energy to gratitude because like, oh,
Yeah.
you're here to serve me right now. And it's
Yeah.
loud right now because I've been resisting it for so long.
Hmm. And sometimes it's really difficult to be grateful for specific individuals. So we don't need to do that
Yeah.
because you
No, we
can't
don't have
force
to.
gratitude because you can't fake this stuff, guys.
Yeah.
You can't force gratitude because then the universe is going to be like, well, she's clearly not feeling it
You're
because
not
I'm her and I
actually
totally know.
grateful.
But be grateful of that awareness, just that
Yes.
awareness of,
Yes.
oh, I feel that my sister's being a bitch to me right now, but I'm also aware that it's actually the universe talking to me, or I'm just aware
Yeah.
that she is being a bitch.
That's
And
what
then
I mean
just
by
even that
gratitude.
awareness, being grateful for that awareness, even if it's
That's
this
what I
little
mean by
piece.
the gratitude. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
aware of
yeah,
being grateful for this moment of clarity of like, oh,
yeah,
this is happening for me. Doesn't matter if
yeah,
you understand why it's happening, doesn't matter.
yeah,
Just being
yeah,
grateful for this serves me in some way.
yeah, yeah. Because gratitude is an incredibly powerful tool once you
So
really
powerful.
grasp um, the feeling of it and how to I want to say how to use it, but it's not something that you use really.
I get it. How you like, yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
How
I
you
guess it's a
use it
way of
as an
being
energetic
more.
tool. It's an energetic tool
Yeah,
and a way of being. Yeah, it's a way of being
yeah,
you can
yeah. A way of
call
moving
up.
through life.
You can
Hmm.
call up into your presence, right?
Yeah.
And it's true, it's hard to be grateful at first. But exactly, starting with gratitude for the awareness. Like,
Hmm.
understand that awareness is you've done all the work. You can be grateful for yourself. You can celebrate yourself in
Yes.
this moment because you've
Yes.
done the awareness didn't come without you doing the work. It
Yeah.
won't come.
Yeah. And we're always so fixated on the result of I want to be totally woken up. Well, that's probably not
Yeah.
going to happen until you pop out of this body, unless you're like 1 in 10 billion people. It just doesn't happen like that. But
Yeah.
um, um, being grateful to you, like all the work that you
Yes.
did.
You put
Like you
so
guys are
much
fucking
in.
amazing because not
Yes.
many people do this, and we really have to like thank yourself, like
Yes.
really thank yourself, be like, well, and thank your past selves, like the
Yes.
past
Oh my
versions of
God.
yourself of,
Yes. For
like
bringing you
you,
here.
yeah, every scary decision, every like trauma that you healed, every like different choice that you made that brought you to this, really everything that you did to bring you to this moment, like thank your past selves, guys, because that's going to help you in this moment, and it's also going to
Yes.
help heal like all it still helps heal those those like echoes, because we always carry echoes of our past selves within us. So when we're
Yeah.
thanking those past versions of us, it helps again, and like you bring the light to those echoes and then they just transform,
Yeah, and you love
right?
them. You love them for the courage that it took because you know the
Yeah,
courage. You can relate with the courage that it took to
yeah.
do this. And
This is
yeah,
hard work. This is
very
tougher
hard
than
work.
climbing like Mount Everest because it's
It's
all in
fucking
the head.
tough. It's
And
tough.
this is such like a new skill that we're learning, right? Because
Yeah.
again, it's the non-physical stuff. So yeah, like be grateful to yourself to the what you've done in the past.
Yeah.
Um, and it is incredibly courageous. It's incredibly brave what you are all doing.
You know what? Something just dropped in. I have another technique I want to share. It's really powerful. This is an NLP technique, and it is before you're going to go to whatever family thing or whatever holiday thing you're going to, okay, anything actually, before you do anything, really, you can do this. Imagine yourself in your most comfortable spot in your home. It's a visualization, and it's literally just imagine, like, let's say I get, I pour myself a Bailey's and milk, right? And I sit down in my favorite chair after this family event I've gone to. And imagine yourself coming home and reflecting on the day and just reflecting on like how different it was this time, how great it was. Like wow, I actually got along with my cousin this time. Like, wow, I didn't realize, like, if I think about somebody that surprised me once because I allowed for the space, I didn't realize this person actually had spiritual beliefs. But because I changed the energy going in, I found out. And so just literally imagine as much detail as possible what it would look like when you reflect back on a really positive experience. All the detail. Whether you take, let's say you have a favorite blanket you put on you and you sit up and you curl up. Maybe you curl up with your phone and you start scrolling, but you're thinking about that, how that day went, and then you're thankful for it. And that's a really powerful visualization, is imagining how you celebrate. I used to use this in interview techniques too for employment counseling. Like imagine after the interview that it went so well and you're sitting down and you're just like, oh, the relief you feel from not getting not that anxiety that you were having before going into the interview, and now it's done.
Yes, that's an incredibly powerful
It
technique.
is very powerful.
Yeah, so you guys actually, you know what? We should all do this. Every single one of us before, especially those family gatherings, right?
Yeah.
But I love this technique, and I use it myself more so on for manifesting. But I mean, it's the same
Mm-hmm.
principle, right?
It
You
is.
are so the key is um, so the key is to again put yourself in, imagine yourself again like after that situation, after that family gathering. You know, you're cuddled up with your blanket with maybe your husband or your cat
Yeah.
or your dog or whoever, and you're just like, oh, it went so
It was
great.
so good. Yeah. Imagine
It
even
was
saying
so
that to your
great.
partner, like, wow, that was so great today. I
And
really
how
enjoyed
would it
myself.
feel, guys? Yeah, and like how would it
How would it
feel?
feel?
And like milk that feeling for all it's got,
Yes.
right?
Bring all your
Imagine,
senses in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Even the smell,
Rosalie
even
says,
like
yeah,
imagine best
yeah,
case scenario. Yeah. Imagine the
yeah,
smells of the turkey dinner that was cooking. You know what I mean? Like imagine it all in that moment when you're reflecting on how it went.
yeah, yeah. And hold on to that feeling. And that's how we
You
bring change to our
create.
lives, guys. It's all our imagination. And the more, and maybe at first it can be tough for some people, right?
Of course.
Um,
Of course.
so even if you can just, um, I mean, even if you can't get into that many details, that's okay. Maybe go and sit in that favorite spot of yours,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe physically go sit there, use the environment that's around you,
You can
and
create it,
really,
right? Before you go, you can go sit in
yeah,
that chair, let's say.
yeah,
And then when you
yeah,
come home, be conscious. And even if it wasn't fantastic, right? Even if it
yeah,
wasn't fantastic, still, maybe you could be conscious and come home and go sit in that chair. And maybe you'll be able
yeah,
to shift how you feel about what happened.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how we
Visualizations are
create.
really powerful. Yeah, and Stowe's rescripting,
Yes.
which is, have you heard of that, Angie?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rescripting. Yeah, how
Rescripting
at the
it.
end of
Yeah.
the day, yeah, I do that. Well, I do that in the morning and in the evening. But essentially, so this is actually a great thing too. Like, you know, you come home, however the outcome was of that family, of that Christmas or that Hanukkah dinner, write it down the way you wanted it to happen,
Yeah.
not how it happened, not how
How
pissed
you
off you
wanted
are,
it to
or
be.
have someone, you know, made fun of your purple hair or whatever. Write it down how you wanted to be. Like, oh, it was so great to see everybody again. Like, write it down the way you wanted to do it,
Yeah.
and keep doing it, because this may seem frou-frou to some of you, but this actually works, because again, it's you're changing that energy, right?
Yeah.
Because there actually is no, and this may be going too deep for some people, but I'm going to go with this. There's no actual past or future, right? And Angie and I say this all the time. There's only right now,
There's only right
right?
now. It's
Because
all
past and
stacked on
future
top
is
of
just
each
a
other. Yep.
man-made thing, just like seconds and minutes and hours and years. It's all just man-made crap.
Yeah.
We're only here right now. So if you've had a shitty experience, earlier in your day,
Rewrite it.
when you're at night before you go to sleep, re-script it, rewrite it how you wanted it to be, your ideal
Yeah,
thing, okay? And so
I
what
love
you're
that.
doing is you're changing the energy. You're just changing the energy of that event right now, because
You're
it's only
changing the
now.
energy of the memory of it, which is actually with you right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when you do that, you you shift your own energy, right? You just feel better. You're like, wow, that was like a great, because that those feelings that you brought forth into, re-scripting that family dinner,
Yeah.
well, now that's inside of you. And then you go to
Yes,
sleep feeling in a hell of a lot better mood, and then you wake up in a better mood,
exactly.
because the mood
That
that you
if
fall the mood that you're in when you fall asleep, that's when how you wake up in the morning. So maybe it's not, if you fall asleep pissed off about Bob the brother, maybe you wake up and you're not pissed off necessarily at Bob, but you're pissed off at something else, that
yeah,
anger, right, that stays with you.
the energy
um
ends up manifesting somewhere in your
yeah,
day.
yeah. So we have the ability to change the energy, guys. We all have that power. We just, again, a lot of people just don't know how to do it, but that's a really powerful technique, that the visualization, right? So before
So
you go
powerful.
into anything, right? Like maybe before you go
Anything,
drive to work, be
even
like,
going to the
imagine yourself
grocery store.
after walking into the office building, be like, oh, there was no traffic. Like, that was such smooth sailing, and people were so kind, and the sky was beautiful. There was like a beautiful sunrise or something. I don't know.
And we've all had
So
days
think
like
of it
that
right
where
before you
it's
go in the
like,
car.
yes,
There you
yeah,
go.
choose it, choose it, choose the experience you want, choose the experience you want,
Yeah,
and imagine coming back from it and it was that way. I love it. I
yeah.
love it. So many great techniques. Oh, it's a good reminder to me too. Like, that's why I love talking about this stuff. It reminds me, oh yeah, I used to
Yeah.
do this all the time. I used to do that visualization and I don't do it anymore. I'm going to start doing it again.
Yeah, I know, because there's so many different tools that we learn, and it's when we can put them all together, um,
Yeah.
that's really, really transformative. But I mean,
Yeah.
start right now, guys. There's no better time to start than right now. Because often
Yeah.
we're like, oh, well, I don't have a notebook to write that down,
Yeah.
or
Start
I don't really have a
practicing.
comfy spot, or, maybe not right now. I don't feel super great. Maybe it's that time of the month and I just feel kind of grumpy or bloated. So just do it right now,
Yeah.
because right now is all
Notice
we have, right?
notice when you have a good day too. Notice when you have a good day, where do you go? What do you do when you have a good day and you come home? What is it that you do?
Mm,
Because that can become your visualization for any future event.
uh,
Because sometimes we're not aware of what we do either, right? Because we don't consciously celebrate
yeah,
ourselves.
we're on autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah. So just notice, become conscious of what you do. What is it that I do when I'm happy? Maybe I go, for me, when I had a really great day, I tend to, instead of going to sit on the couch, I tend to go out back and just stand out there.
Mm,
I stand out there, I hold
yeah.
like my little like my pillars there, and I just like breathe and smile and look outside.
Yeah. Yeah, but
That's
incorporating that in your daily practice, maybe, again, before you go to bed is a key time to re-script everything, guys. So
yes.
yeah, maybe, before you get ready for bed, I like to start this routine about an hour before going to bed, to give myself some space for life.
Mhm.
But yeah, just go outside and, hold on to those pillars and just breathe in that night
Yeah.
air, right?
Yeah.
Really transformative.
For
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I go outside often, but especially at night. And my kids know, it's like, okay, my son will be like, okay, we'll read 2 books and then you'll go do your bedtime stuff, right? And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
That's right. You
And it
set and you
wasn't always
create the
like that,
space for,
guys. It was,
yeah, you
yeah, it
create
wasn't
the
always
space
like
for
that,
yourself.
but it's, yeah, be gentle on yourself.
Yeah.
But Angie and I have been doing this for a really long time, and sometimes there's a lot of resistance, right? When we're
Yeah.
trying new things, sometimes there's a resistance within ourselves, and
Yeah.
also especially with our kids, right? Or maybe your spouse. Um, Maybe you have like a high maintenance spouse or something. But when we're trying to do all these different changes, especially like the physical changes, that like the
Mhm.
physical tools that we're discussing now, sometimes the
Mhm.
resistance actually also comes from others, especially like children, right? It's like, no,
That
I
don't
want you to
want
do
you
this,
to do
and
this. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that is
I need you.
itself,
I
and
need you.
a challenge, but it's also a lesson for you to be like, okay, how can I combine the two? Because I'm still a mom. I'm
Yeah.
still a mom driving this human vehicle. Um,
Yeah.
but again, that's just a lesson of kind of that ebb and flow, right? Of, okay, like I need to make myself a priority. Always make yourself number one priority. And I'm also a mom. So how do I like weave the two together, right?
Yeah. This is where Tonglen meditation would be really great, guys, for resistance. Like when you're first doing this, I love that you brought this up because when you're first doing this, you feel resistance. That is a moment of suffering that you can breathe in. Breathe in the resistance. Breathe in like, oh, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I'm feeling resistant to this. Because when we avoid it, what you resist persists, right? So when we
Oh,
avoid it, it's going to persist. But if you just breathe it
mm-hmm.
in that moment, in that present moment, that, oh man, I'm resisting this, that's okay. I love and forgive myself anyway, and I'm sending myself love and compassion, and then now I'm going to, once you've done that, you've dissolved that persistence. And
Yeah.
and it's okay. It's okay that you're resisting it. It's going to take some time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that Nikki? Was that Nikki? Oh. Sorry, I'm just seeing. How
Oh
it shows
yeah,
the,
for
the
sure.
heart,
Everybody
and
popped
I
on,
think
yeah.
that was. I don't know. I think that was Nikki. If it was, hi Nikki.
Oh yeah, because you can see the little icon
Yeah,
after,
you can see
right? I
who it
know. I
is, but
love
you're
these
not quite
emojis.
sure.
It's
I
probably
know
one of
it's
my
fun.
favorite things about
They're
Facebook
fun.
is just the interaction.
And Robina, million dollar question. Robina, oh my gosh, this conversation has literally been what we were just talking about. Like, it's pretty awesome. Oh, Nick, it is Nikki. Hi, Nikki. Oh my God, I miss you. I love what you're seeing. I'm loving what you're seeing, what I'm doing. Oh, and what I'm saying. Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Gosh, I miss you. She's one of my teachers. Anyway, we're actually a little bit over the mark,
Yeah, I was
but
gonna say it's probably around an hour. Yeah.
yeah, it's an hour and 10 minutes. But oh gosh, I love these conversations. Thank you so much,
Mm.
Natalie. And thank you
Yeah, thank
everybody
you.
that joins us. Like your energy contributes so much to this. And this is like I could just have these conversations all day long with
I
with
know.
all the
I'm feeling
humans.
like so. Yeah,
All the
let's milk this
humans.
feeling right now. The
Yeah.
awesome like feeling that
Yes.
you guys are
Anchor
feeling.
this feeling.
Milk it. Yeah. And
Mm.
yeah, milk it for all
And
it's
if
worth. And then when you're kind of in those, less than fun situations, remember this feeling, right?
and
And then that'll
celebrate
bring your
yourself.
frequency up.
Celebrate
Yeah.
yourself because you're here.
Yes.
Even
Celebrate
if you're
yourself this
on this
weekend.
call, if you're on this call, you've done the work. You've been doing the work.
Yeah.
You have. Anyway, I love you all. I love you, Natalie. Thank you
I love
so
you, Angie.
much.
Thank you so much. And thank you ladies for joining us. This was a fun conversation.
This is so fun. I love it. I look forward to next week.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I
All
hope you
right.
guys have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Bye.